obvious possible subject: money. Not because money is the point of life, I should say that before the dean stops smiling, but because money is one of the ways human beings reveal what they value, what we count, what we chase, what we save, what we share, what we build, what we imagine we would do if, say, suddenly we had $1 million. Which brings me to the Bare Naked Ladies. Now, I recognize this reference may land differently across the room. I'm roughly the same age as most of the parents and guardian types in the room. For those people, if you grew up in Canada, you may be able to anticipate where these convocation remarks are going. If you're a graduate, you may only know the Bare Naked Ladies because at some point, some Canadian adult turned up the radio in the car and started screaming/singing at the top of their lungs, or made you listen repeatedly to a Bare Naked Ladies song that found its way onto one of their terrible playlists. Let me focus on the parents. I may be rarefied, but I had a copy of the yellow tape. For the uninitiated, the yellow tape was the nickname for the Bare Naked Ladies' 1991 self-released cassette, officially titled Bare Naked Ladies. It was called the yellow tape by everyone who knew and loved it because of the plain yellow cover. It was part demo, part indie release, and part Canadian cultural phenomenon. It was recorded in Toronto in 1991 and was originally made for the band South by Southwest appearance. The band sold it themselves at shows, then it spread through word of mouth, radio, and local record stores. The tape included early versions of songs that later became central to their album Gordon, including Be My Yoko Ono, Brian Wilson, Blame It On Me, and also If I Had $1 Million, which we'll return to in a minute. The yellow tape's significance is that it became, by many accounts, the first independent cassette release to go platinum in Canada. That's pretty remarkable. Before major label machinery, Bare Naked Ladies had already become a national story through cassette sales, alternative radio, live shows, and word of mouth. Inspired by the yellow tape, I got my hands on a ticket to see the Bare Naked Ladies at Canada's Wonderland in 1992, which means I'm now old enough to give convocation speeches about bands I saw before you were born, before some of your parents had fully committed to wearing stretchy pants on the weekends, and talking a lot about gardening, renovations, and whether they should eat the second piece of cake. Back to If I Had $1 Million. The song is funny. It's singable-ish. It's deeply Canadian, it sounds like a joke, and then somehow it becomes a philosophy. The song begins with a fantasy. What would I buy if I had $1 million? And of course, we should pause here to acknowledge something important for a bunch of BComs. Imagine that this speech has a parenthesis. This is it. What would I buy if I had $1 million? Bracket. $1 million in 1991 is not what $1 million is today. In 1991, $1 million sounded like a lot of cash. Today, in some Canadian housing markets, $1 million is a two-bedroom house if you're lucky, and if you do not insist on doors. So already the song offers us an important lesson in inflation, purchasing power, and the emotional fragility of anyone who looks at real estate for too long. End bracket. The imagined purchases are not really billionaire fantasies. This is not a song about yachts, private islands, or aggressive, complicated tax planning. It's about a house, a car, a tree fort, a nice dinner, a green dress, a fur coat, but not a real fur coat because that's cruel, and of course, craft dinner. The song is funny because the dreams are ridiculous, and it's touching because they're not about status. They're about comfort, affection, companionship, and the small things that make people feel cared for. It's a song about abundance, but not extravagance, about aspiration, but not arrogance, about money, but about more than that, about values. Fans started throwing boxes of craft dinner at the band during concerts. At first I imagined this seemed charming, then less charming, then probably like a workplace health and safety issue. Eventually the band encouraged people to donate the boxes to food banks. That may be the most Canadian operational redesign in music history. Please stop pelting the musicians with macaroni and cheese and redirect your enthusiasm toward community benefit. So this silly song about imaginary money became part of Canadian culture. It became a concert ritual. It became a way of talking about what people would do if they had more than enough. And since this is convocation, and since you have already completed exams, papers, group projects, presentations, spreadsheets, late nights, early mornings, and at least one moment where someone in the group chat wrote, "Has anyone heard from Jeffrey?" and everyone silently lost the joy of group projects, I think you have earned the chance to sing. Let's talk about singing. This is not modesty, this is public service. When I was in grade 1, I joined the school choir. My music teacher heard me sing and she asked me to stand in the back row and mouth the words. I've spent the rest of my life trying to honor Mrs. Follis's assessment. But I think we can manage the first verse together. I'm going to remind you of the lyrics, and then we're going to let it rip. Okay. This is the first verse. I'm going to give you what I'll sing, and then what you sing. You just listen this time, and then we do it. If I had $1 million, you say, if I had $1 million, I would buy a house. I would buy you a house. If I had $1 million, I'd buy you furniture for your house. Then this one's harder if you don't know the song. Maybe a nice Chesterfield or an ottoman. If I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you a K card. Well, those were amazing, and I had one growing up, incredible. A nice Reliant automobile, which is hilarious because it was a Reliant, like a Plymouth Reliant. It sounds like reliable. I mean, that's funny. If I had $1 million, and then it's I'd buy your love, but here you're going to just sing whatever you want that you would buy. And it's the long one, right? It's like I'd buy your love. So you have quite a bit of time to get out whatever it is that you want to get out. Okay, here we go. If I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
I'd buy you a house.
I'd buy you a house.
And if I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
I'd buy you furniture for your house. If I had $1 million,
if I had $1 million,
I'd buy you a K car. And if I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. Okay, I think you nailed it. That's the thing about a great song, it creates community quickly. A few words, a familiar melody, and suddenly a room of strangers becomes a room full of people willing to risk embarrassment. And graduates, that's not a bad description of what it's been to be in the BCom together. Business is sometimes described as planning, organizing, budgeting, analyzing, leading, measuring, reporting, and evaluating, and yes, it's all of that. But at its heart, it's the work of helping people do something together that they could not do alone. It's turning imagination into action, resources into possibility, conflict into movement, good intentions into real outcomes. It's turning wouldn't it be nice if into how would we actually make that happen. This is what your education has prepared you to do. And you have learned, I hope, that value is not the same thing as price. The song asks you what you would buy if you had $1 million. Your education asks different, perhaps better questions. What would you build? What would you repair? What would you steward? What would you refuse to trade away? What would you make possible for someone else? Because the world you're entering does not simply need people who know how to accumulate resources. It needs people who know how to use resources wisely, who can build businesses that are successful and decent, and who can design systems that are effective and humane. It needs organizations where people can do good work without losing themselves, communities where ambition and care are not treated as opposites, and yes, it needs people who understand money. Money matters, revenue matters, budgets matter, sustainability matters. You cannot pay people in good intentions. You cannot run an organization on vibes, no matter how excellent the playlist is. I'm coming to the end. Graduates, you are prepared, but not perfectly so. There will be days when the plan fails, the market shifts, the policy changes, when your team is tired, when the data are messy, the room is tense, the answer is unclear, and someone still expects you to produce a briefing note or a PowerPoint before midnight, probably with a team, and where the heck did Jeffrey go? There will be days when leadership feels less like standing in the front of the room and more like quietly keeping the wheels from falling off, and there will be days, many of them, when you do not have $1 million. But what you will have is the friends and colleagues and networks that you made here at Dalhousie. Graduates, you have done something hard. You have completed a university degree. You have earned your place in this ceremony. You have crossed a threshold that no one can take away from you. I hope today that you let yourselves feel pride in that accomplishment. I know your families and friends feel it. I know we on the stage feel it. Pride, not as pressure or expectation, but as love. The real dream, after all, was never just having $1 million. It's a life where you create something worth sharing. So class of 2026, congratulations. May you always have enough courage, enough humor, enough good company, enough imagination, and when necessary, enough craft dinner to keep going.
Because now she's embarrassed. The irony of, I am way off script, which is very unusual in itself. But we are yin and yang. I am very structured, and she's like, hey! So you got to see the full effect of that in the true leader of Dalhousie University. So thank you for that. Graduates, this is your moment. You have been through a lot. I come from business myself, and we are very happy for you today. As you cross the stage, I invite you to think about all the things you've been through, the journey, but more importantly, what lies ahead, because it is a special thing. Your life is ahead of you. As you cross the stage today, you will be greeted by the Chancellor here in the middle. Please stop. You will have some encouraging words for you and celebration. And then you will come to this side where you'll be greeted by your dean. He will give you your alumni pin, and this is where your official photo will be taken. I now invite Dr. Mike Smith, Dean, Faculty of Management, and Ella McDonald, an orator and alum from the Fountain School of Performing Arts, to present the candidates who are here today receiving their degrees.
Thank you. And thanks, President Brooks. I'll have that song in my head all day now. Graduates, if you're not already standing, could you please rise? And if you're unable to, just wave from your seat. Chancellor Southwell, as chair of the Senate of Dalhousie University, I ask you to confer degrees on those candidates who have been approved by Senate.
By virtue of the authority vested in me and in Dalhousie University, I admit to their respective degrees and diplomas with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto, those candidates who have fulfilled the requirements of that degree and whose names have been approved by Senate. Admito vos ad gradum. Congratulations, graduates.
Congratulations, and you may now be seated.
Chancellor Southwell, I am honored to present the following candidates on behalf of the Faculty of Management who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Commerce. Oliver Joseph Abro. Matab Ahmed, with distinction. Jack Aitken. Miles Jamal Olamide Akande. Elizabeth Allison Albert. Ryan William Alexander. Rachel Norma Jean Brannon. Callum Breen. Tamara Paige Leaford Brimble. Riley Ann Brock. With distinction. Taylor Chaplinsky. Sophie Marie Sharon. Megan Coetzee. Lauren Margaret Corner. Nathan David Crosby. Natasha Deichman. Veronica Mary Mitchell Denson. With distinction. Joshua McLean Dixon. Brandon Rocco DePaula. With distinction. Sydney Emma Deutsch. Zachary Michael Dukas. Huyen Young. Jenny Ann Dutton. Jack David Ellis. Bruce David